What's up, Outlaw Nation? Thanks for listening to the Last American Outlaw podcast. And I have again with me today my good friend, the last of the full-grown men, James Yeager. James, thanks for doing another podcast with me.
Sure thing. What are you going to call this when you do your last one? You going to call it the last American Outlaw podcast?
The last American Outlaw. So, guys, we are hanging out. James and I were just talking. We've spent a lot of time together in the last few months. And we are at Gunsite, which is kind of crazy because he was on his live stream and he's like, I said something on there and he's like, hey, man, why aren't you answering your phone?
Yeah, I texted him and said, hey, let's go to Gunsite. And he didn't answer me back.
I had switched phones and I didn't switch my apps over, but we got it in order. And then so we came out to Gunsite and let's start there. So I didn't really know anything about Gunsite.
Well, Gunsite began for me in the 80s, reading gun magazines as a kid, a teenager. And then in the 90s, when I started carrying a gun in 88 daily, when it was still gangster. And so it was far away. I'm a kid, young man, a junk car and no money. So reading these gun magazines this place was so far away and so mystical and unobtainable that I never thought I'd even be here. And so, here I am the fourth or fifth time now.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And Gunsite is the oldest training facility.
Yeah, began in 1976, and a bunch have come and gone since then.
So something that that we had talked about earlier in another video we were doing was that Gunsite is the standard. Tell us about that.
Well, you have to have a measuring device. You know what I'm saying? Like there has to be something where we say, okay, this is, the standard. So for instance, a fast food hamburger, the standard is McDonald's. I don't care if you like McDonald's or not. That is the standard. So Gunsite is the standard for firearms training.
Okay. Yeah, no, and I can definitely see that. I mean, they over the last 5 days, I saw how the class progressed, and I thought it was great. All right, guys, we're going to call this just random thoughts with Yeager. This podcast probably isn't as much for you guys as it is for me, because one thing that I've noticed riding around with him is he is just a constant download of great knowledge, and it's history that, I mean, for me has been for like I don't even know about it, and so 10 years from now nobody's gonna know about it. So I just thought, hey, can we just kind of get together and just talk about things that most people didn't know? So let's kick off with, where did we get 511 pants?
So back in the early 90s, maybe mid 90s, the FBI adopted the Royal Robin pants as their just khakis, And so when I went to FBI Firearms Instructor School, I said, hey, where'd those come from? Where'd you get those? And they came from, Royal, I can't say Royal Robin. And so the first few pair I bought were Royal Robin. And then after a while, which is a mountain climbing thing, like that cotton strap on the back was to hang carabiners on. And so I started selling them as 511. 511 is actually a mountain climbing system, measurement of how difficult a climb is. And it was like at that time, the hardest one. And so 511 kind of branched off and became its own brand. But as far as I know, Royal Robin's still a thing with, if you like that kind of pants, they have different colors and things like that.
That's pretty awesome. I really did. I had no idea. Because for me, when I first got just into all of this gun culture, it was 511.
When I first saw 511, I did not know it was the same pants. Like, I didn't know it was the same. I thought somebody ripped off Royal Robin.
That's cool. All right. Tell me about the 2-point sling.
So it is my understanding that the 3-point sling, as we know, it became 2-point. Started with the black military carry strap. And SEALs, as far as I understand, from the East Coast, took 2 of those and put them together and made the first, as we know them, tack slings.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. What about the green bandolier? You guys know the green bandolier? I don't see very many of them anymore, but it came with, 3?
Okay, so the bandolier with the stripper clips for the M16, they had the spoon in one side for the adapter to jam them into the mags. They also had 2 black safety pins, and so after you took the strippers out and loaded the mags, across the bottom of the bandolier was about another 2 inches that were sewn with a white thread. If you pull the white thread out, it came out kind of like a dog food bag. Then you could put 6 mags into that pouch. And those black safety pins, I'm not sure what they were for, but if you ever pull the pin out of a hand grenade or a flashbang or smoke, you can't get the pin back in. So I always carried a couple of safety pins on me to replace that pin that I might not have needed. And black was just cool.
That's cool. All right. What year did you get into law enforcement?
92, January 20th, 1992.
So January 20th, 1992, if I would have told you you had the possibility of getting issued a Model 19, what did that mean for you?
Yeah, I didn't know if it would be a Smith 357 or a Glock.
Yeah, and so I think most people don't know about the Smith & Wesson Model 19 anymore. It's not a thing.
Right.
I know they came out with some new ones, but now that was a popular pistol for me. I shot a lot of it, and I still really like that as a revolver.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get a little interesting. Tell me about Daniel Defense. I love this story.
So, Marty Daniel came to a rifle class of mine in the late 1990s, and I had a Knights RAS rail on my gun. And for you guys that are young, this was the first thing you could put in the AR-15. And so I'm there at class, and Marty says, "Hey, where'd you get that?" I'm paraphrasing the conversation. I said, "Knights Armament. I don't think they're for sale to the public." He says, "I'm going to call them." And then I get message back, "Hey, they weren't nice to me. I think I'm going to make my own rail." And so Marty Daniel got mad, made his own rail. If Knights would have just mailed him, a rail, we wouldn't have Daniel Defense, and Marty Daniel might still be hanging garage doors for a living.
That's pretty cool. It's cool to get the foundations of that, and then to think about, what he's become with Daniel Defense.
He is a super great guy.
Yeah. All right. What about Blue Force gear?
So at that time, at that same class, Ashley Burnted, the guy that owns Blue Force gear, was in the class, and he was making parts for Kel-Tex and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about making my own slings. would you mind helping me, give me advice and pointers and things like that? So I helped him prototype the first adjustable sling that now is called the Vickers sling, the Uzi prototype I helped him with. And then actually he was the first guy that I know of that had where you could plug and unplug different ends, connectors on the sling. And when I went to Iraq, he mailed me just a bunch of slings, but all kinds of clips because we didn't know what kind of guns we were going to have. So I emailed him back after I had identified the best pieces and said, hey, you should sell a sling kit with all these pieces. And I really wish I had the email because he emailed me back and said, this is 2004. James, nobody is going to pay $35 for a sling. Or something like that. It was like, $40 or something. And so he did what I asked and made the contractor pack. And it was whatever. And apparently at one point, the Army bought 5,000 of those kits for the Iraqi Army. So I think Ashley was like, hey, thanks.
That's cool. And that's another industry standard name, Blue Force gear. They're all, huge, awesome gear.
And Ashley's a great guy.
All right, NSR.
So Dave Black, when I met him, man, I think he told me he was driving a forklift or something, but he was kind of toying around making holsters, and he made me one. I said, okay, make me another one, but with this change or that change. After a few of those, I said, great. Hey, do you want to do this for a living or something like that? And he said, yeah. So I just said, hey, folks, order this. If you want the holster that I think is the best, order this one. And so basically my selfishness, wanting the perfect holster for me, kind of helped Dave get into business.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. It's as we go and as the more you and I talk, the more I realized what an innovator and supporter and you literally pour all you have into helping people, and I very much appreciate you, but the industry just doesn't know how much impact you've had on it.
They've helped me too.
No, I know. I'm just talking about the average viewer.
Yeah,
I know these guys know, and they're your friends, but just the average guy, I didn't know any of this stuff the other day. And I'm just like, wow, this is just crazy to hear these stories in the beginnings. And, I know they had a lot of other help, and it's just, but it's cool to hear the beginnings of this stuff. All right. So tell me, what was your first carry rig?
A Glock 23 in a Milt Sparks Summer Special with a Milt Sparks belt and inside the pocket mag carrier. And I remember ordering that. And I had some other crap holsters before that, and I figured, I have to buy a good one. And I remember my wife going, I think the whole rig was like $120, and the belt was like, I don't know, $40 or $50 or something of the cost. And my wife said, "Oh my God, that belt's $40." I mean, we didn't have a lot of money. And then in the early '90s, that was real. That was real money. And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Okay," And I wore that belt for like 16 years or something.
Oh wow. Yeah, Milt Sparks makes tough gear. What do you carry now?
Glock 19 NSR holster, Galco belt with a NSR inside the pocket mag pouch.
Okay.
Galco ankle glove on my ankle with a shield. On my right ankle, the ankle made kit from thetacticalmedic.com.
Hey, that guy started following me the other day. Thanks, man. I appreciate you. All right. Let's see here. What is our next question? Hey, guys, at the end of this one, give me some questions for Yeager, and we'll try to do another one of these. Then I'm going to see him again in a month or two or whatever it is. Do it again, and we'll try to do another one of these when I'm with him to ask, just some questions. All right. Tell me. It's okay. This is great. Yesterday, we went and met your buddy, Andy.
Andy Stanford.
And what a guy. What a character. Super nice.
He is a caricature. He's not even real.
That's true. He's awesome. He's super funny, super animated. So tell me kind of how your friendship, tell me about him, how your friendship, and give me the story.
So I read about him in, gun magazines. He won the NTI in, I think, 94 or something. And I don't know, at some point I sent him an email, and we got together to do training and just became friends. And he was the first person that told me, hey, you can do this for a living. You're good at this. And I credit Andy 100% with letting me off my leash. And what I mean by that is all the classes I'd had, a lot of police classes and stuff like that, they were like, unload your gun before you leave the line, all that kind of stuff. And Andy's the first guy that said, those 4 safety rules are to empower you, not to enslave you. So I would give him tons and tons and tons of credit for that.
And so this is something I didn't know a lot about, but Andy trained under Jeff Cooper or started shooting.
Well, way before Gunsite, Andy was shooting with him at the California Leather Slap and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So Andy's been around and he's seen it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's got pictures of him with Cooper from the age of 14 to 34 or something. I mean, plenty of pictures together.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, tell us about Hack. How'd you meet him?
The first time I met Hack, Andy was dragging me around SHOT Show, and he saw Hack, and Hack seems to be aggravated by Andy somewhat. But Hack, you gotta meet this guy. And he goes to shake my hand, and he's very polite, and said, nice to meet you and all that stuff. And then years later, I said, hey, do you remember the first time we met? He's like, refresh my memory. And I told him, he said, oh, that was you?
Yeah. I thought that was cool. I have been following Hack. I remember it was when the Wilson Combat CQB came out, and he was in a magazine, and he had on one of the old USGI helmets, and he had on that OD green, and whatever magazine that was, I can't remember. That's when I first got that magazine and read about him, and I was like, this guy's great, and he's still great.
Yeah,
he's just a wealth of knowledge. If you guys aren't watching him on, what is it, the Gun Guys?
Gun Guys.
The Gun Guys. I mean,
Wilson Combat Channel.
Yeah, Wilson Combat. Wow. I have this thing in my head, we need to start remembering the history of how we got here as a gun culture. And so
let me tell you why it's important. There was a SEAL on a YouTube video saying, he's one of these new guys, saying that he invented commercial firearms training in 2008. Obviously, he's like somebody sticks their head out of a hole, and because they don't see a hawk, thinks there's no hawks. I mean, he couldn't have been more wrong. So, yes, knowing where we came from helps us navigate where we're going.
And so I guess the pioneer that started training was Jeff Cooper. Tell us, I don't know if you met him, but tell us a little bit about Jeff Cooper.
Nah, I'm not that guy. I never met him other than reading his books I have no basis of knowledge.
Oh, okay. So
I bumped into him one time at SHOT Show.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys weren't okay. All right, but he was the originator with Gunsite, right? That was the first shooting school.
100%.
Okay. All right, and then
if you want to be specific, Gunsite was arranged, and the American Pistol Institute was the first training. Gunsite used to be almost two separate entities.
Oh, I forgot they told us that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Tell us about one of the guys that you said was on your list that you were considered like one of your mentors and a great instructor was John Farnham.
Yeah, John's great. John came back, and he's actually the longest running commercial firearms instructor in the history of the world. John started in 1974 when he came back from Vietnam, and has been going ever since. He'll be at my place again at 75 next month.
That's awesome.
He'll come his first day, he'll shoot all day and then do low light. It's like a 14 or 16 hour day. And I'm like, John, I'm tired. Telling a 75-year-old man.
All right. I know you said that you waited 25 years to get to be with this guy and train with this guy. It's Clint Smith. What do you?
It didn't. It took me a long time for sure, but Clint's great. I mean, he's just great from the first time I met him till the last time I saw him. He's just great. He's a great person. He's a great instructor. If you have a question, I'll answer it, but.
No, I just wanted to.
He's fucking top notch.
How did you meet him?
He and I literally bumped into each other at SHOT Show over 10 years ago, maybe 12 or 13 years ago or something. I'm trying to remember. But he said, "Oh, James Yeager." And I was like, fucking Clint Smith knows who I am. I was like, holy shit. He stuck his hand out. We talked for a few minutes. And back then he was getting, instead of haters on YouTube, he was getting hate just in the mail and shit. But he said, didn't you write a book? I said, yeah. He said, I'd love to read that thing. I said, I'll mail it to you. And that was it. Mailed it off. And about 3 months later, I got like 500 book orders. And he didn't tell me, but he reviewed that for Guns Ammo magazine and wrote a little bit and said, I know some of you people don't like James, but I've met him. He's a good guy. That meant the world to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's the name of your book?
Working in a War-Torn World. It's a book about contracting. It's on Amazon.
All right. Let's go back to just a little bit of gear stuff here, because I think this is kind of cool. You posted a picture the other day that a $5,000 Glock and a $500 1911 is equally as bad.
Yeah.
So
a $5,000 Glock is just as reliable as a $500 1911.
Yeah. And so I know that, and here's why I know this. You shot a Cabot or two Cabots at Gunsite 250 when you came.
Yeah.
And this year I shot a Nighthawk Thunder Ranch Edition 9mm because it's Gunsite. Mm-hmm. And I've seen a lot of people on my videos and yours being like, James said no 1911s, no 1911s.
I never said that.
Yeah. Tell us about 1911s.
I made this video. I still have it. I still stand by it. I wouldn't change a word. The title is 1911s Suck. And basically, 1911s were designed during an era where craftsmen hand-assembled guns. Skip ahead 100 and something years, and now we have CNC and EDM and MIM and all this, and it is not a design that lends itself well to mass production.
Yeah. So you have another good craftsman building the gun. It's still a great gun.
So if you look, people say, yeah, but back then they only cost $12 or whatever. Well, $12 in 1911 was like $2,000 now.
Yeah. Yeah. People forget that. All right. Another one that you're famous for, forever famous for, is the 40 Smith & Wesson sucks.
Yeah.
And so I think to start, terminal ballistics wise is never what you were talking about.
Nope.
So tell us about the 40.
They break. No, the kind of history of that is the FBI got their ass kicked in a firefight in Miami, and they said it's because they were shooting 9mm. Now, the FBI could have switched to the 45. Do you know why they didn't?
No.
Because the 45 already existed. So if they would have admitted they picked the wrong caliber. So they didn't have the right caliber because the right caliber did not yet exist. So you go with the 10mm. So the 10mm comes out, the Smith 1006, and that was a fucking badass cartridge. That thing would smite some fools. But most people couldn't shoot it. Small stature people. It was a heavy gun, recoiled hard. The top level 10mm rounds are like the lowest level 41 Magnum rounds. So it was a very powerful semi-auto handgun. So they made the FBI light load. So basically cut the powder in half. Well, after they did that for a while, Smith & Wesson said, hey, since all that powder's not in there, we can shorten this case and we can fit this into a 9mm smaller gun. So they did that. The problem is, and people talk about Glocks, the first guns I saw broken were the Smith 4046s at Memphis Police Academy, or 4006, whatever it was. Those are metal guns, and they were all cracked. And so the cartridge is just too violent for the gun, and they break. I mean, if you had a 40 and shot somebody with it, they'd die, no problem. But I don't make videos for the gun community. I make videos for the gun culture, and we train a lot. And since there's no advantage with terminal ballistics, there's none over 9mm, then 9mm guns last longer, so you can train more.
Yeah, I actually I saw the FBI report where they were using gold dots, and the 9mm expanded like 0.58 and the 40 was like 0.60, like nothing.
No, that matters.
Yeah, I mean it's literally, and I do know from some friends that the Glock 22s, they were breaking them because they were shooting.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they just can't. Now I also listen. If you have a 40, you don't have to go and sell it, because I promise, if you have one, you don't shoot that gun enough. You need to get some training and then worry about what your next gun's going to be.
Okay, so now, why are all the departments leaving 40? Well, the FBI began that. And so you're saying, oh, they began that because the guns are breaking. No. Once again, they would have had to admit they were wrong. So what happened was, when did they adopt the 40?
I don't know. The 40's been since I was...
Yeah, in the 90s, right? So about 25 years ago, right? So all those dudes that were on the committees to invent this new cartridge all retired. And since they wanted to embarrass those guys. So after they got out of the building, they said, okay, let's change this shit.
It's funny what happens when people retire. Mm-hmm. All right. Something that was cool was you were talking about how you implement new tactics and you do it through, or you test a new tactic that you thought. You do it in the sim room. And tell us about like sims and what you like trends that you see.
That's a 10-hour conversation.
It's a 10-hour conversation. So take the fight class.
No, I'm just saying, like, the short version is before I adopt a new tactic or technique, we pressure test it with force on force.
Yeah, and that's kind of the short answer is what I was looking for. And when we had a conversation about it for about an hour one day, a couple months ago, and I realized the thought that you put into developing a new tactic, or to say, this is dumb, I've tried this with X amount of students and they're not doing it, or this doesn't work. I just think that is innovative. There's not any civilians that I know of, or I'm sure there are, but that I know of that put that much effort into it.
I don't know anybody that does. People change on a whim, change what they teach on a whim or with no real thought, and they don't follow the scientific method at all. Yeah. You have to test your theories. You have to.
Yeah, and the only way a major way we can test them is in sims. Yeah. So tell me kind of the origins and how you decided I'm going to start tactical response and how it ended up, where we are today.
Again, another 10-hour conversation, but so I started teaching carry permit classes, and people would say, hey, what else can you teach me? And I started doing stuff, and then I started posting on the internet. The internet was invented by another Tennessean named Al Gore. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
I've heard of him.
But you're welcome for the internet. And so I started answering questions on this forum called Glock Talk, and then people say, hey, do you do classes? And I think I was doing teaching billets in 94, carry permits in 96, and I think my real classes, the beta for fighting pistol began in 98.
Wow, that's cool. You've been doing this for a while. How much from the time you started, and let's just stick with pistol, how much has changed in the 25 years that you've started with pistol? A lot, or is the fundamentals the same?
I don't know what you're asking me has changed.
Like the fundamentals of how you draw the pistol, how you...
No, because now my ability to teach those things has increased. But a gunfight's still a gunfight, and the technology, the guns and stuff hasn't changed much since then. So I mean, gunfights are still close, they're still fast.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good one right there. What is your thoughts now on a red dot on a pistol?
They can watch my video and find out.
All right, watch his video.
You're not getting all my shit
on the red dots. We've had a lot of interesting conversations about it, so watch his video. I think it's cool. All right, we can't take all of his shit. Why the Glock 19?
It's small enough to carry and big enough to fight with.
Yeah. We had a conversation about video games, Call of Duty. Give me your thoughts on that.
First off, that's, again, what a broad question you're asking me, but people shouldn't play video games. But if you're going to, first-person shooter games are what you should play, and I believe those are the gateway drug into real gun ownership.
Yeah, so the generation that is playing those games are the next generation that's going to come out and buy those guns on those games.
They're already doing it. They're already 30 years old now.
Yeah, and so that's why I think it's it seems like there's this group that wants to just say, oh, you're so bad for playing these games. But then we don't realize that it's building the next culture, because at 51 and 41, we have to pass on to the 31, the 21, the 10, so that we can continue our culture, so that our kids and grandkids and great grandkids can stay free, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And I see this being a threat to our way of life, that they're trying to make it to where they're breeding it out of the culture. So
yeah, for sure. And the other part is unrestricted, constant use of any video game is a horrible idea.
yeah, no, I totally agree with that. All right. So that, I was talking to Joey. Joey said one of the best pieces of advice you gave him is on kids and guns, introducing guns to kids. Mm-hmm. Give us that advice.
Basically, take the mystery out of the gun. And so I would unload my guns and let my daughters touch them. I'd teach them how to hold them and not to put their finger on the trigger and stuff like that. And after you take the mystery out, they don't care.
Yeah, because they're wondering why you said I can't touch this, and they're, wait, if I can't touch it, but they can, I really want to touch it. Yeah, that really makes sense. It really does.
Yeah, and you can't hide a gun from your kid in your closet. It doesn't work.
No, that's a fact. I remember my dad had a Colt Python, and no matter where they thought they hit it, I always found it. You know what I mean? I did. I was just that kid.
Yeah. All kids are that kid. Get a gun safe, folks.
Yeah. All right. And tell us about plotting taco truck locations.
Brian thinks I have an uncanny ability to sniff out taco trucks, but I guess I do. But no, it's one of our things on the road is like an Easter egg hunt, trying to find taco trucks, and kind of a game for us, but we have fun with it.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, James, I think that's all the questions that we wrote down. We got to. Oh, wait a minute, I got one. Tell us about the Tactician Light. I think this is a cool story.
You should have interviewed Andy, but basically I told the owner of Surefire that he needs to make a light like that, and if he didn't do it, I was going to go to China. And he's like, okay, I'll make the light.
And now we have the Tactician, which is my favorite light. And shooting it in the Gunsite class at night, I don't know who else on my relay had them, but mine would light up like the world.
Right.
Yeah.
I want it to be like turning the lights on. If it wants this like a little beam, like a lightsaber, I don't want that. I want the light to come on.
Yeah, I think that's cool. So is there anything that's on your brain that you want to drop some knowledge on us?
So I shot the previously unreleased Canic Rival. As we film this, record this podcast, it won't be released to the public for another week. But ran final week, has their proprietary red dot, which before today wasn't released, and it worked fine. I've got some TP9s I've had for like 8 years as rental guns, and they just work. They don't break.
Yeah. I didn't get to shoot that pistol, but I got to see that pistol. It's nice, but I got to watch you shoot it. And, it wasn't lacking behind any other gun that I saw out there. Yeah. That was a great gun. Well, all right, guys. Thanks for listening to the Last American Outlaw podcast. James, thanks for being on the podcast with us. I appreciate these. Like I said, guys, I did this more for me so I can go back and listen to it, because the knowledge bombs that he drops, and I'm just going to keep writing them down, and maybe I can get one more out of him before we leave for at the end of SHOT Show or something. But ask us some questions that we can ask James, because I just think it's fascinating to find out how important he's been, not only to my development, but to our culture's development. And we want to make sure that that's on the forefront, and that we continue, that he can, the industry continues to grow, but we have to know where we came from and how we got there in order to grow. But thanks for watching, or thanks for listening to Last American Outlaw Podcast. We appreciate you. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications on YouTube. We'll see you soon.